with this session today, since Snow Camp and BASI started working together, we've had 18 young people like all of you guys here who have gone through the BASI system, whether they've done the level 1s or they're now at level 2s or they're working towards level 3s. We've currently got 18 young people, and then we this year have another 10 young people who were going to be going on to that. So we had 10 spaces available to young people to use to get onto a BASI level 1 course, which is absolutely amazing. It's really exciting because it means that some of you guys will be actually using these spaces. So this is why it's so important to I suggest listening up to what Kev and Tom have to say today, because you will learn so much from them. Obviously, guys, we are all doing our Snow Sports England and Snow Sports Scotland level 1s at the moment, which isn't quite BASI level 1, but it's a stepping stone in that direction. So it's a stepping stone to get to that BASI level 1 to give you that first part of knowledge, and then you can move up to BASI eventually. So obviously with Tom and Kev here today, so welcome guys. So it's Kev Edwards and Tom Waddington. They both work for BASI. They're going to tell us so much about the BASI system, the pathway and everything else that goes along with that. So welcome.
Hello. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having us to come and talk to everyone. It's an honour and a privilege to be able to speak, and it's really great working with Snow Camp as well from our perspective, and it's really good. And I know some of you guys hopefully on the call I've met myself at Manchester, and I'm sure I'll see plenty of you around in the future. It's a really exciting programme.
So it's pretty much over to you guys now, so go for it, Tom and Kev.
Yeah. Just thought we'd start off by just a little bit of background of ourselves and tell you a little bit about our pathway into BASI and what we do now. So currently I'm a snowboard trainer for BASI. I also work at the BASI office as one of the managers as well, helping develop the products and doing things such as this and communicating out to the membership. My story started, while I was at school, while I was in my mid-teens, which I imagine some of you are, just through school, really. I was fortunate enough that, I was born and raised in Morecambe, which if any of you know anything about Morecambe, it's not the greatest place on earth, shall we say. My parents never skied or snowboarded, but in the mid-90s when I started snowboarding, which is a long time ago, it was just kind of a cool and an alternative thing to do. And when I was going through school, didn't see myself doing a normal job. I just didn't see myself fitting into that 9-to-5 kind of routine. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I think that's the opportunity that skiing and snowboarding gave to me. When I left school, I ended up in Sheffield. I had some family over there. And at the time, there was a big dry slope there. So I started at the grassroots, really, in the UK, working on the dry ski slopes. I started with jobs, fitting boots, helping out on rentals, working as a lifty, and then eventually started teaching. And that's as soon as I started to teach where I started to find my passion. Because I was pretty young, I had the opportunity, like a lot of you hopefully will, to be able to get visas to work in other countries. And I ended up in Canada for a few years working over there, which was great, in between going to France and New Zealand as well. So I didn't have much money in my pocket. I just had enough to get from place to place, and I was able to teach. And through that, I was able to, slowly work my way through the BASI system, complete my levels, and every time I completed a level, it was just really good and gave me more opportunities to be able to work. And I've been lucky enough to work all over the world with it, which has been a fantastic thing. And it wasn't without its hard work. I often say that one of the defining moments of my snowboard career is when I failed one of my exams, because it made me really look at my life, what I was doing, and whether this was a real strong passion of mine. And I decided it was, worked hard, and I was able to successfully complete it. And I really think that's what inspired me and motivated me to take it to the really high level that I am. I've been lucky enough to work across, worked in Europe, in North America, worked in South America, worked in China, in New Zealand, so really all over the world, and those possibilities have all been opened up to me by doing my BASI qualification, and that all started with my first course, my BASI level 1. And that's really where the story started. So it's really exciting to speak to you guys, to see you're on the start of that journey. There's no reason why a lot of you couldn't potentially replicate some of the things I've done, and we as BASI are here definitely to help you as much as Snow Camp. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my story. Perhaps Tom, I'm sure it's a different route he got in, and he'll share that with you.
Yeah, so hey guys, I'm Tom. I'm a BASI Alpine trainer. And I'm also the Alpine Director, which means I sit on the board of directors for BASI. I guess my story started when I was a little kid. My dad loved skiing, and he used to drive up to Aviemore in Scotland. And we lived in Yorkshire, in Halifax. So that's quite a long journey to go skiing, about 8 hours. So yeah, I started skiing in Aviemore. I was like 4 years old, I think. I was very lucky to do that, and then continued it on because my dad was a school teacher, and he used to run a school ski trip. So every year I was lucky, me and my brother got to go skiing every year on the school ski trip. Then I kind of finished school and got a degree in accounting and economics, which made me realize that I didn't want to be an accountant. And so then I started doing ski seasons, and sort of that was my one love. I absolutely love skiing, and I didn't really want to work so much in a city office job. And then I found BASI. I realized that actually I could make a career out of it. And then that was me since. I went through the BASI system. I started working in Italy for a company called Interski. And then I did a few seasons in France. Actually, yeah, I've done 15 seasons now. So yeah, quite a lot of seasons. And yeah, I managed to sort of work my way through the system. And like Kev said, it was full of challenges. There's a lot of hard work. There's a race test called the Euro test in the level 4, which is really hard to pass, and I failed it many times and had to put a lot of work in and work into language. So I now speak French, and I actually live now in Switzerland. So loads of opportunities within the ski industry that I never really realized. And I've also managed to travel the world. I went to New Zealand last summer, Argentina the summer before. And yeah, it's never thought it would be like that, to be honest. And it's really exciting to talk to you all and share our story and our sort of experience. I think we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a good instructor, and I also run a ski school here in Verbier in Switzerland, so kind of know a little bit about what we look for anyway in a good instructor. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I thought next we would talk about the BASI pathway as it stands. The pathway comprises of 4 levels. I know Morv's already talked about a lot of you guys working towards your Snow Sport England qualifications, and then hopefully on to doing the BASI qualifications. The BASI level 1 qualification is a 5-day course and can be done within the UK. We run an awful lot of them in the snow domes throughout the country, as you're probably aware. A lot of you may have visited these places already with the Snow Camp program, which is fantastic. So the 5-day course is available throughout those snow domes, primarily in the summer and the autumn. And within that 5-day course, it's training. There isn't an assessment side of it, but primarily what myself and Tom do, we are trainers, we are educators, we're not just examiners, although that is a small part of our job. Within the BASI level 1, there's a technical assessment as well as a teaching assessment, and also you're rated on your professionalism as well, your suitability to be an instructor. All of these things are done within the 5-day course. And I believe BASI work very, very closely with Snow Camp and provide places on those courses and opportunities for you guys to be able to get involved. Upon successful completion of that qualification, you are able to work on any dry slope or snow dome in the country with that qualification and in a controlled environment. You can't quite work on a mountain with a level 1, although there are some small opportunities with some of our approved ski schools if you're working on a beginner slope, for instance, on a mountain, but being overseen by a level 2 instructor or above. But primarily the level 1 will get you teaching on a dry slope or in a snow dome. And that's where I spend a lot of my time in my early years teaching and sort of developing my instructor skills, was on the dry slopes and snow domes, because they provide the opportunity to ski all year round. There's very little cost or travel for a lot of people to visit those snow domes, so it really is a great place to be able to teach. Also, you meet a lot of people there and a lot of other instructors with a similar qualification. They all work together, they all bond together, and it'd be surprising how tight the network is between ski and snowboard instructors and how they all help each other out, whether that's with training, whether that's with advice about jobs or traveling or going along all these other places. So that level 1 qualification is a really good stepping stone. And it is a place that you might hold your level 1 qualification for a year or two, sometimes maybe longer, as you slowly make your way through the system. The next step after that is a level 2. The level 2 course is an on-mountain qualification. The course does need to be taken on a mountain. So we have various courses running throughout Europe where you can attend the level 2 qualification. And again, it's a very similar format to the level 1. There's the technical assessment, there's the teaching, and there's the professionalism. But again, there's more time in that assessment, that course for training. So you are helped and trained during that course, and you're expected to be able to ski in the different areas on the mountain, from not only on the piste, but in the off-piste a little bit, and in some steeper terrain, and in various aspects. So that you're ready to teach most people on a mountain. With that qualification, you can work in an awful lot of countries throughout the world. You can work in Austria, you can work in certain parts of Italy for a certain length of time. You can work in Andorra, in Spain, in Japan, in China, in Australia, in America, Canada. Really, the list goes on. There aren't many. It's probably easier to list the places you can't instruct. And the level 2 really unlocks most of the world to you as an instructor. And that's really where you can start to gain employment abroad during the winter months. And then during our summer, it is actually the Southern Hemisphere's winter. So a lot of instructors do go down to New Zealand and Australia to start teaching down there as well. So the level 2 is a real fantastic qualification to get. And that's really, once you've found your place and really happy teaching, that you can work through that level 2. A lot of this information is available on the BASI website. I'm sure I can pass those links on to more than the rest of the team after this call, so you can definitely have a little look at the opportunities that are open to you there. As Tom spoke, second language is beneficial, but it's not you don't need it to be able to teach as a level 2, because with being British, one of the common languages throughout the world is English. And I know a lot of instructors who work in Japan, and their only language is English. The common language for a lot of people taking snow sports there is English. So don't think that the language is a barrier to you, but it's very useful. Maybe one of the good reasons when you're in school to pay attention while you're learning the language, whether that's German, French, or Spanish. So it does really help you. The next 2 levels, level 3 and level 4, they are really when you've made that real conscious decision that this is my full-time job and this is what I'm going to do for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And then you move through the level 3 qualification that is aligned with the international benchmark with the International Ski Instructors Association. And at that level, there are a few more modules that you have to complete, a little bit longer in terms of courses that you have to take, and a bit more of a commitment. And that does take quite a few years to work through the level 3 program. A lot of people work and train at the same time and work towards those qualifications. And really, when you get that level 3, there's very few countries you can't work in. So again, just unlocks a few more doors. Then the final level is the International Ski Teaching Diploma, the level 4. Which then allows you to work in a few key countries, work independently in France, in Italy, in Switzerland. So, and that is really the stepping stone if people are looking to move on to doing the role like myself or Tom does, such as the BASI trainers. But the level 4 is really highly rated level. And what I'm going to do shortly is talk to you a little bit about what these qualifications mean in relation to the educational framework that you guys are probably familiar with, such as Highers in Scotland, GCSEs, A-levels, degrees, and things like that, because it's a piece of work we've done recently to help people understand the sort of level that people are attaining when going through the system. But the level 4's, it's something that does take instructors many years. But the level 1, the level 2 qualification are attainable fairly early on in people's careers, and they're really the ones that unlock so many doors to you. And that's really the qualifications, and me and Tom, that's what we achieve to be able to work internationally. So that's a little bit about the levels. I know we're going to have questions towards the end, so if you've got any questions of formulating, get them written down, and I'm more than happy to be a bit more specific, whether it's about the countries, the requirements, the things involved in the levels, and please let me know. But I think I'm just going to let Tom have a little chat, unless you want to add anything to those levels, Tom, or if you're happy, then you're going to chat to us about...
no, you nailed it. You nailed it, mate. Good work. Sorry, what am I adding?
Yeah. Oh no, just if you had anything else to add,
Oh.
or if not, just starting to have a little chat about what you look as a ski school manager, as someone who employs a lot of instructors, the kind of attributes and things that you look for.
Yeah, cool. So I think the main thing I would look for, or is really good as an instructor, is someone who's passionate about helping people, passionate about teaching people, about improving their snow sports experience in every way, whether that's helping them put the boots on, or getting better at technique, or making them feel safe, looking after parents' kids. I think if you're really passionate about what you do, and you love snow sports, then that for me is the number one thing that I would look for. And then I think combined with that, you need to be good with people, or certainly when you become a ski instructor, you learn a lot more about people and different types, and sort of knowing how some people get frustrated when they learn. Some people are absolutely go for it, and just young kids, dealing with young kids, to adults, to billionaires, to celebrities. You've just got to be pretty good at kind of like a social chameleon. You've got to be good at mixing with everyone, and I think that's something we'd look for in our school, which is New Generation in Switzerland, for an instructor. Because when you're good at that, or you're getting better at that, it makes people feel safe. They might want to rebook you. They will take you again the year after. So yeah, that's another important quality. I think patience. I think a lot of you'll find when you're teaching and you've done your level 1 and you're teaching a lot of beginners in the snow dome, you've got to have a lot of patience. And people will pick it up easy. Some people won't pick it up at all. But if you're very patient, then it's always good. It's always good. I think being friendly, professional, and always on time. They're the qualities that I would look for.
Yeah, it's interesting to say some of that stuff, Tom. It started to make me think about some of you spoke a lot there about other qualities other than technical ability or proven teaching ability. You're talking about a lot of life skills there, I suppose. And I think instructing has taught me, I'm sure the same as you, Tom, a lot about life. You know, it's increased my self-confidence, the ability to be able to talk to groups of people who I've never met, but give me the confidence to do that. I know a few years ago, I recently became a father, and, you know, even some of those skills I learned as an instructor has helped me as a parent. Some of the things like the patience that Tom talks about, the caring side of it as well. And skiing and snowboard instructing is pretty unique. You get to interact with, I don't know many jobs where you interact with such a broad spectrum of the human race. Is that the right word, I suppose? You could be teaching a 3 or 4 year old kid one day, and then you could be teaching someone who's 70 the next, and everyone in between. And it's that unique ability to be able to, and not many jobs give you the opportunity to do that. And it's such a, I don't know, an enriching thing that makes me look at life a lot differently these days, definitely. And you know, it's easy to forget. You know, we build bonds with a lot of the people we teach. Like Tom says, a lot come back year after year. And you've got to remember, a lot of these people, especially when you start to work on a mountain, they've come on a holiday. You are their holiday for the time you're with them. And they probably have a pretty mundane job back in the UK. But when they come out and they spend a few hours with you, you can really make and break someone's holiday time. And if you're friendly, you're open, you're passionate, you're enjoyable, they will come back time after time to see you personally. And it's always pretty good for the tips as well if you're pretty good at that sort of stuff. Would you say, Tom, has there been a few skills, life skills that you developed over your time?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think I used to get really nervous about public speaking and stuff like that. And as soon as you just get used to doing more and more groups and you know, getting to learn people's names and speaking in front of people, and then, you know, I got into a manager's job where you got to speak in front of a team, and that really helped me as a life skill in terms of just being a bit more confident. And I think, like you said, Kev, it's extremely rewarding when you teach someone and they get something out of it and they genuinely appreciate kind of what you've done and help them. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So just as I mentioned earlier about the BASI pathway, the level 1 to 4, sometimes it can be difficult for people to understand the sort of levels that's involved, or at least the level of education you're receiving through the BASI system. So what BASI have done recently is a large, really big piece of work with the University of Edinburgh. We had a process where we got several of the university to come and observe our courses, to look through all of our workbooks, to look through all of our syllabus, to see what we were doing, to see if they could make it aligned with the national qualifications framework, which basically means, like I mentioned earlier, those of you perhaps done highs or doing highs in Scotland, those looking towards GCSEs and A-levels, it would make it much easier for employers to understand if the BASI system of 1, 2, 3 was put against that system. So the University of Edinburgh have come in and accredited our courses. They've signed them all off. They've made recommendations and changes that we've made to be able to put us on this framework, not only for Scotland, England and Wales, but also in Europe as well. What that means in terms of our qualifications is that, for instance, if you successfully complete the level 1 qualification, that is the same qualification as an A-level. So if you are lucky enough to make it through your BASI level 1, which I know is well within the reality for all of you listening on this call, you will achieve an A-level status. If you get that, you won't get a certificate saying, hi, I've got an A-level, you'll get your BASI level 1 certificate. But that has been checked and verified by the University of Edinburgh. All the learning outcomes or objectives of that course are the same level of education as an A-level. So it's really something for you to work towards. Even if you're not necessarily going to do this as a long-term career, it's really rewarding. Now, the BASI level 2, if you're successful in your BASI level 2, that is equivalent to completing your first year of university. So again, you won't get a certificate from the University of Edinburgh saying that, but everything you've done through that level 1, everything you've completed and successfully been able to show the trainer has meant that it's the equivalent of you completing the first year of a university degree, which is a fantastic place that would be really good for a lot of people to attain if university isn't necessarily in your future. It's still something of educational value through a course like a BASI course in ski instruction or snowboard instruction. You can gain that level of education by doing something practical and showing how you can do it. So that continues through to the level 4 qualification, which is really quite a high level qualification and does take quite a number of years to work through that. But that's equivalent to a degree, a BSc or an MA. So a university. So just as an example, that if you make it all the way through to level 4, you've essentially got a degree in skiing and snowboarding. So it's been a really good piece of work at the University of Edinburgh. Plus, like I say, if people are going on to other opportunities, other employment opportunities, or looking down other lines of work, then it's a really valuable thing to have from us as a BASI educational pathway. So it's added a lot more weight to our qualifications, which has been really good.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom and Kev. That was fantastic. And I'm sure all of the young people will have connected with the stories that you told and the pathway explanation. Brilliant. And then how it links in with the University of Edinburgh. It's amazing. We really appreciate the time and effort that you guys have put in to come on this call with us. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I think I speak for Tom as well, that we'll be more than happy to do any other calls or topics or anything. So keep us in mind to help and support.
Perfect. Over to you, Gavin.
Thanks, Morv. And again, thanks, Kevin and Tom. Fantastic stuff, very inspiring. And hopefully, some of the young people here will be on those level 1s imminently when things resume back to some form of normality. Okay, so as you guys know, what we're going to do now is we're going to send you into your regional breakout rooms where you can have a look at some videos and some pictures of skiers and snowboarders, just pulling it back to some of the stuff that you guys are doing with your Excel courses. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of an analysis on some pictures and how to spot problems with skiing and snowboarding posture and so on. So that's going to be really beneficial for you guys to do that. And what's going to happen is myself and Kevin and Tom may pop into your sessions and add a bit to it and say hi, and we'll jump back out and go to another session. So hopefully all the regions should see us kind of jump in and out of those sessions just to say hi and see how you guys are getting on and see what you're up to. But after those sessions, and they're going to be about 15 minutes long, we're going to all jump back into here for some Q&As. So hopefully you guys have got a few questions there. So without further ado, you guys know the score from here. I think we're going to go into our breakout rooms and you guys can get cracking with your program managers. So I'll see some of you guys shortly. Thank you. Guys, welcome back. Hopefully that breakout room was informative and slightly educational for you all, just to sort of look at things to spot when you are working as instructors and how to fix those problems as well. I think it's obviously good stuff to take forward with you with your SSE ones, and again onto the BASI stuff as well, where it gets slightly more technical as well. So hopefully that was of good use to you guys. And I think what I really want to do now is hopefully some of you have some questions for Kev and Tom, who have kind of been jumping in and out of the sessions as well as I have, which was good to see. Please start to unmute your mics or ask questions if you have them. We'll try to do regions at a time. Why don't we start in London? Is there any questions from London for the BASI guys?
Yep, Eleanor has one. Eleanor, just remember you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry. I do have a question, and that's, how did you find the process of getting onto the BASI ladder?
I think it was because I grew up skiing. It was quite easy for me in terms of I kind of booked onto the course. I'd done a season, and just got straight involved into the level 1. So it was a bit of a shock to me with the level 1 as to how much information was actually in it. I just thought, oh, it's just skiing. But actually there's so much about safety, child protection, first aid, group management. There's a lot of information, and there's study time as well. So I guess I was pretty like, wow, this is serious.
Yeah, I started maybe similar to some of you guys when I worked at Sheffield. They had an in-house qualification. It was along the lines of the Snow Sport England qualification, but it only allows you to teach at that centre. So I'd actually done a sort of pre-course before I took my BASI as such. So I'd already had a bit of an idea of what it was like to sit through something like that. And also I'd been working a little bit as an instructor with an equivalent qualification to the Snow Sport England one. So it was a fairly stress-free transition. Some of the things Tom talked about, those additional things, and what the BASI one involves. We've made quite a few steps recently to do a lot of pre-course learning. So it used to be you turn up and you'd have to learn all those things from day one, but now a lot of that learning you can do little tiny pockets of study before you turn up. You can, so when you turn up on day one, it's not a surprise. And of course, all the work you're doing with Snow Camp sets you up fantastically for doing your BASI level 1. And of course, all that Snow Sport England stuff's really going to help as well with that pathway. So for you guys going through your BASI 1, it should be a nice smooth transition really. And when I was on the course, I found it really good because the trainer was really supportive. I was expecting them to be a bit of a head teacher style, but I soon realised that wasn't really their role. It was more to help, nurture, support, and then hopefully by the end of the course get the right result for all of us. So yeah, I was fairly stress-free moving into BASI.
Great, thank you guys. Okay, so let's move up the region to the Midlands. Do we have a question from the Midlands area for the BASI guys?
We had quite a few questions while the guys were in the room, to be honest. We had a pretty detailed discussion. Does any of the Midlands crew have an additional question on top of all the things that we asked Tom and Kev earlier? No, I think we had them all when we had our VIP access.
Okay, that's no problem at all. What about the Northwest? Are there any questions from the Northwest?
I've got one.
Okay, please go ahead.
How difficult did you find completing the BASI pathway?
I think I found it challenging, definitely. Some parts more than others. For me, skiing a lot, the technical stuff wasn't too bad, but the teaching stuff I really had to work on. My presentation skills, not speaking too fast, not looking down all the time, that kind of thing. Speaking to the group, time management and planning your lesson. That was skills that I had to work on throughout the system. And especially when you get to the A3 and the 4, there's a lot more of that. For example, they have a whole week of just teaching, a week of a teaching exam, where you're just doing lessons after lessons, and you have to then teach your peers. So not learners, but you're actually analysing your peers and trying to improve your peers. So yeah, it was challenging for sure.
Yeah, I think like Tom sort of says, the higher levels, yeah, definitely, but you don't even think about doing those until you're a few years into your snow sports career, and through that time you're learning all the time when you teach. You're developing those skills that Tom's talked about. There's a certain amount of hard work that you have to put in, like anything, nothing in this world, I tell you, that comes for free, and all those things that are worth something because you worked hard to get them. And there's a lot of help along the way to be able to get there, from training courses, from contact time with trainers. But yeah, the level 3 and 4, you're getting pretty serious when you get there. So, but you don't just turn up on those tomorrow. They're after several years of working. like I said, my journey onto the level 1 was pretty smooth. The level 2 was pretty stress-free as well because I'd had a bit of mountain time beforehand, and then that unlocked a lot of doors. But then 3 and 4, when I made that conscious commitment through my career that this was full-time, then yeah, there are a few challenges. I'm not gonna say it's easy, neither will Tom, but as long as you focus, you know what you need to do, and you get the adequate time to be able to train, then yeah, but it takes a little bit of time. It took me about 10 years to go from my first qualification through to complete my level 4. I'm not sure, Tom, your duration of pathway from 1 to 4?
Yeah, I think it was about 6 years. 6 years. But like Kev said, there was a lot of experience in that. You're not just doing exam to exam. You're teaching for a year, 2 years, and so with that experience and then help from the trainer, you just get better that way.
Perfect. Great, thanks guys, really good answers. And I'll jump in on this as well because I did my level 1 in my 20s, and I kind of I came into the BASI pathway with the confidence that everyone has when they first start snowboarding, and I really thought I would nail it first time. I was doing a coaching degree, so the teaching aspect of it wasn't necessarily challenging for me. I was quite used to teaching, but I actually failed my level 1 on my technical, and it was like a cold bucket of water in the face. I was my ego was kicked, and I went home with my tail between my legs. But again, similar to what Kev said, it actually in turn made me a much better snowboarder because I had to break it down all the way back down to beginning to sort of rebuild that and come back from that. So sometimes the failures give you the most learning, and for me certainly that was definitely like a big shock to me because I had a lot of confidence at the time and thought I was gonna get it first time, but it's good. Humble pie is always good. Okay, any questions from Scotland for the guys from BASI?
Yeah, I think Paige has got a question that she was going to ask.
Yeah, what was the highlight of your career? Sorry, that was my nan.
All right.
Hello. I think for me, last year, we went to a thing called Interski, which is basically it's like the Olympics for ski instructors, and you do synchronized skiing, and snowboarding. Kev was there as well, and basically just like synchronized swimming, but you come down in maybe 10 people, and you all have to do like a routine, doing short turns, long turns. You've got to make it all the same. You've got to do it to music. And we did that in Bulgaria, and there was crowds of thousands. We were on Bulgarian TV, competing for Great Britain and maybe 50 other countries there, wasn't it, Kev?
Yeah, maybe more. It was a real good event. It was huge.
Yeah, and brilliant country. And yeah, for me, that was one of my highlights for sure.
Where can we see that?
Good question.
We'll definitely find the clips on YouTube. We'll find it, Gav.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's clips of Interski. I think there's even a BASI Interski Facebook page maybe.
Yeah,
and
there is.
also,
Yeah, it's
an
called
Instagram page as well.
Yeah, it's called National Team.
National Education Team.
National Education Team on Instagram.
Yeah, look it up. There's really good shots on there. I think for me, one of the highlight of my career or achievement was when I delivered a level 1 at a Snowdome in Manchester. I was doing introductions on day 1, and I was asking a lot of the people, as you do, where you're from, why you're here, and 2 of the people on that course, they were dad and daughter. They turned around and said, we're here because you taught us to snowboard. I think it was about 4 years ago, and they then enjoyed it so much and learned to snowboard and thought it was an absolute blast. They'd come back to do their BASI level 1 qualification, and it was pretty humbling to see there's someone who I had taught all those years ago, the basics, they'd kind of been inspired to move on through, and then came through to do the level one. Also, one of the other highlights and proudest moments, I was on Blue Peter. I was live snowboarding on Blue Peter many years ago. I had a moustache, which I was rocking at the time, and yeah, so I've got Blue Peter badge lying around somewhere because it was on live TV. Blue Peter, that was pretty cool. Yeah, that's about it.
Amazing, thanks guys. So I think we've gone to every region there with questions. Just before we finish up, does anybody else have any questions? Yeah, you know, from any region that haven't been answered, or things you might want to know whilst we have the guys here.
Can I just ask? Sorry, if there's one piece of advice that you would give us, what would it be?
Good question.
Great question. Tom's going to answer that.
Careful.
No, let me think. Hold on. Come on. Can't get away with that. Think of something. Yeah. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't ever underestimate yourself. Do everything you can do something, or if someone says that you can't do something, don't believe them. If you're passionate, like Tom spoke about before, and you believe and you want something, you can achieve it. You know, I'd never, looking back in my career, you know, if you'd told me when I was a teenager and just starting to snowboard that I'd have done half the things I've done and the places I've been and the people I've met, I'd have told you a total liar. But if they all happened, and that's because, you know, I suppose I believed in myself and I made those things happen. You know, no one did it for me. Yeah, I got some help along the way, but, you know, believe in yourself, you know. Nothing much different between me to you. I'm just a human being, same as you. So, yeah, believe in yourself.
Yeah, I think a bit like what Gavin was saying is don't be put off by failure or fear of failure. You know, that's one of the best learning experiences you can have, and that's how we get better, basically. So, yeah, don't be scared to go out there and make mistakes.
Good question. Good answers. Any other questions before we let you guys go about your days? Yeah, here we go. Another one in.
I've got one. So, like, how did you manage to sort of balance life back home and life when you're away doing seasons? So, like, work-wise, home and away.
Yeah, good question. It can be quite tricky. For the start, I would work the winters and then go back to Yorkshire and get any job I could. Really worked a lot on building sites, and I think with it being seasonal, you've just got to find the jobs that you can. But often those jobs give you other skills, and you develop that further. So. Yeah, it can be tricky, but also it's fun going to a different country and then coming back to the UK and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's in the early days with the work, sort of the life balance as well. It was a bit tough because we didn't have FaceTime, we didn't have Zoom or any of those things. I used to ring my parents from a phone box with a phone card once every 3 months, and just to check down still around. But now it's so much easier with communication to be able to keep in contact with home and loved ones and friends, that it means that, they take us, for example, we're in all different parts of the UK, but we're all together talking and chatting. So it's become a lot easier to make that balance. But yeah, it can be a little challenging and a little transient, but there's so much enjoyment in that, moving around, getting different jobs, and you never know where life will take you. And that's definitely something I've learned through skiing and snowboarding, and I've enjoyed the ride all along the way, and I've ended up doing some pretty random jobs, but they've led on to something else, and it's got to be open as you can be with everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that as well. We've all done our fair share of jobs just to get out to the mountains, I think. So any other questions, guys, before we go?
Yeah, I got one. Mikhail Northwest. What makes you to keep going? I mean, to keep doing your job, and what's your favorite part of your job?
So what motivates you to keep going, and what's the best part of your job? Is that right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think for me, just a deep down passion for skiing. I love it. I love teaching it. I love skiing myself. I love everything that's connected to it. And I think the most rewarding thing for me is when someone has learned that new skill and they can have a great holiday and a great fun time. So that's what keeps me going. I always say if I won the lottery, I'd still teach skiing. So there you go.
Yeah, so similar to Tom, you know, the motivation is just the passion to do it, and because I believe in it and I love it so much, and the enjoyment the sport's brought me, I just want to be able to share that with others, and they can hopefully get a glimpse, or at least get into the life that I'm living, you know. So kind of keep the motivation going. And another reason why me and Tom are both here speaking to you now, because we're so passionate about what we do. We want to share that passion, and that's a real motivating factor. And I've not come from a particularly affluent background at all. And I was, coming from Morecambe, not a lot there. Although the Gypsy King lives in Morecambe, so there's something now for Morecambe to put it on the map. But there weren't a lot of opportunities there. But once the opportunities of skiing and snowboard's given me, I just want to share that, and everyone can have a piece of it. And just meeting people, all different people of different walks of life, age, everything. Every day I do the job, I'm always meeting someone new, and they've always got a great story. Everyone's got a story, and it's great just to hear them and understand that. So it's really rewarding, really motivating to keep going.
So one other thing for Tom. What made you consider moving, or what made you move to Switzerland and not anywhere else?
Good question. It was kind of, I'd been lots of other places, and I actually got offered a job as a manager of the ski school here, and I really liked it. I liked sort of working with a team. And that was a whole new set of skills there, and running a business. And so I took that job a long time ago now, and then I've kind of just stayed here since. It's beautiful. It's really nice in the summer, and it's a great resort where I am in Verbier. Lots of off-piste skiing, and very sociable. And that's kind of why I stayed.
Great, thank you.
We'll have one more question, and then we'll call it a day there. So if we have one more question at all.
I have one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So at first, snow camp for me was just like a fun day out, and that's when I started to develop my passion for it through the courses. For you, was skiing and snowboarding always did you always want it to be a job, or at first was it a hobby and then you developed it into a job? Thank you.
I actually never thought it was going to be a job for me. I was looking for jobs in London, and that's when I decided that I didn't really want to be in an office, and went out to do a ski season. And I met someone who was working as an instructor, and I remember them telling me, wow, I've been doing this and I can make a career of it. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And then that's when I started down the path of becoming a ski instructor, and realized that, I could do it for a career. So I never really knew.
Yeah, I think I ended up just falling into the profession as well. I was doing various other jobs, and like I say, the dry slope, and then I managed to get a bit of a job instructing just part-time there as well. And then it just seemed like the obvious job to do when I was going to a mountain to work, or when I went abroad to work. I can earn money while I snowboard, and so I was able to combine two of my, the need to earn some money, but also my passion. So if I need to get a job, I might as well do something I love. So that was eventually a pretty easy decision for me. But it wasn't my initial career path, should we say? So you never know.
Great, thanks guys. Okay, so what I will say is if you had a burning question that didn't get asked in this particular Q&A, please give it to your PM and we'll get the answer for you, no problem at all. I do just want to say a massive thank you to the guys from BASI. Tom and Kev, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and talk to our young people. It's been really informative, and I think all of the young people that have been listening will have a little takeaway nugget of gold that you've given them. So thank you so much for your time and energy into this course.